Will do. And we are live. Jordan Klein just gave me a really nasty gesture before we went live. That was incredibly disrespectful as I'm trying to start this show. NBA Deeper Dive is here. Bet365 is the sponsor of this show. Adam and I are about to run through all four games. Lots of changes since this morning. Didn't really think about the fact that Zion's probably not going to play that back-to-back, and then sure enough, he was out. I don't think we mentioned that on the strategy show. We'll get that as we get our sea legs under us in this NBA season. But first, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow us on Twitter. Adam, how's your day been?
Been pretty good. Got my content out earlier, video lineup generator video, article comparing Joel Embiid to Kevin Durant. And now we're back.
Yeah, it's been a day. Cold as shit here. So it's been a different day.
It's like 50 here. And it's almost like when it's cold, I would prefer it be cloudy out because I keep looking outside and like being happy and being like, oh yeah, it's so nice out. And then realizing that I have no interest in going outside.
Yeah.
But especially in the morning, like I'll wake up in the morning, like, oh, I'll go sit on the balcony for a little bit. And I look at my phone and it says freeze warning, 32 degrees. Like, okay, I'm not gonna go do that.
Yeah, my alarm went off at 5 and I let the dog out, and like just opening the door, I was just like, nope.
Yeah. And I don't know about, I mean, probably the same for you. It was like 70 to 80 here within the last week.
Yeah. 2 days ago it was 80 and change. Yeah. And now it's just like, if I don't have a coat on, my life is going to feel awful.
Right. Like Halloween weekend, I went out and I wore long sleeves, but like it was just like, a button up with long sleeves. And I was like, Saturday night I wore short sleeves when I went out and was perfectly fine.
Yeah, it was something in the 80s 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and then now not so much, which is awesome. Like I love sitting around under a blanket with like a hot drink or something.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
Or like a liquor drink.
Right. Like, so I just ordered a heater for my balcony and I'll be much happier once that comes.
You allowed to have that?
I didn't ask.
Fair. Fair.
It's electric. It's not it's not like propane or anything.
Big electric slide guy right here. No, not you.
No.
Middle or like grade school dances, man. Every time.
I'll say, probably like my bar mitzvah.
Jordan Villalobos wants me to give my take on the Rangers winning the World Series.
I'm not even sure. Find out the Rangers won the World Series?
Per him right now.
Yeah.
I haven't been paying attention. I didn't watch a single second of the World Series, so
I don't think I saw it.
I know it's finished.
Yeah, I knew they won because I like saw it on Twitter last night. I know Zach Gallen, I think, actually was taking a no-hitter into like the 6th or 7th last night, and then I guess ended up they got lit up.
No, I didn't see it. Didn't see it. So my thoughts are congrats to the Rangers, I guess. Kudos. Shouts to Bruce Bochy, I guess.
Yep. Makes me happy just because if the Orioles are going to get swept as the 1 seed, at least it's by the team that just ran the table, basically.
Yeah. I don't have the same sort of feeling for the Braves.
No. It makes me upset, though, because the guy I went to law school with is like general counsel for the Rangers now or something. So the entire postseason has just been like Instagram stories of him like on the field and like talking shit about how good the Rangers are. And I've just been sitting there like, God, I can't wait for them to lose. And then they don't.
Are you ready?
Yep.
The Toronto Raptors are 8-point dogs in Philadelphia. 215 total. Not too much here. Pulling up the injury report now. For some reason, that tab stopped loading itself. Precious Achiuwa doubtful. Nobody else that's super relevant matters. Otto Porter is out for return to competition reconditioning, so I assume Jalen McDaniels gets whatever he did yesterday. 17% ownership coming into Scotty Barnes on DraftKings, 13 to Jake Puddle, 13 to Dennis Schroeder. Those guys are all getting some ownership on FanDuel, but Pascal Siakam, where he is 7,900 and a power forward eligible, is 36% owned. As I look at Toronto, I really don't have much outside of Barnes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm at too. My crunch, for lack of a better word, messed up, so I don't have actual exposures, but that's how it looks to me. I think Pirtle looks fine, but Zion being out changes the center position. Like Pirtle was already a secondary center option today, and then now you add increased projections for guys like Joe Val and Larry Nance, and it makes it even harder at 5,900. Schroeder is okay, getting 13% ownership, but Scotty Barnes is one we have going quite a bit under own. Point guard, small forward eligible, 28% chance of being optimal on DraftKings, only 16.5% ownership. So that's going to look pretty good. And I think that price tag is reasonable. I do also think, though, that how much you get to him probably is going to be impacted by Brandon Ingram's status also, because if Ingram is in, then he's going to project better at that price range. And you can certainly play the ownership game and go to Scotty Barnes. That's perfectly fine. But Ingram's going to be the one drawing the most attention at that range. If he's out, then it's just opening up value. You're getting the CJ McCollum, obviously, at 7,200 in that case very heavily. But it would kind of open the door for Barnes as that like 8K-ish forward.
I didn't really get to Schroeder. I didn't really get to Jake Puddle. I don't have any OG Anunoby. I have very minimal Pascal Siakam. This is just a team that I am not getting to. And I don't really see anything that I feel like I'm missing out on either. Although, to be fair, I do have one guy with an exposure level that I don't know how that's going to hold, but we'll talk about that in the next game.
One thing I think that I did notice when I did my lineup generator video earlier, Grady Dick was showing up as a FanDuel play.
Okay.
I don't know that will really hold as more value comes out. That was before the Zion news, and then obviously before like Ingram, whatever happens there. But Grady Dick was just showing up as, a minimum salary small forward that opens some things up.
Yeah, Dick, 3,900 shooting guard, small forward. So if you need to fit him in, it's pretty easy.
Well played.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, good enough. I knew you were going to try something there, and I expected it to be much worse than it was.
Yeah, I think it's tolerable at least. I wish that I was getting a little bit more of this, but like nobody really just stands out, and there are so many standout plays. I think that I totally understand why it's happening, but for right now, 16% Scotty Barnes. That's the only thing of value that I have from Toronto. Philadelphia is a little bit different. 13% ownership coming into Tyrese Maxey, 17 to Oubre, 6 to Joel Embiid, 7 to DeAnthony Melton. Embiid's not really all that owned on FanDuel. It's only 10 there. Melton in double digits, Oubre in double digits, Maxey in double digits, the same. Let's start with Embiid, 11,500, 6% owned. I am not struggling to get him. There is a value play in the next game that might be causing that. I have 21%. I hope that holds. I'm very happy to pay up for Joel Embiid today.
Yeah, I really like Embiid, especially on DraftKings. Talked about it a lot in the article that I tweeted out earlier today, but comparing Embiid to Durant on DraftKings and FanDuel. For one, on DraftKings, the opportunity cost at center is obviously lower than FanDuel since you can roster two of them. He's also closer in salary to Durant on DraftKings. So those two things combined make him look really good, and neither one's projected for much ownership right now. Obviously, if Booker gets ruled out, then Durant's projection goes up and gets closer to Embiid. But the other thing to really like about Embiid is that at least through the first few games of the season, he's actually figured out how to facilitate and pass and pick up assists as well. Broke it down in that article where he has a 37% usage rate so far this season. Last season, it was about 37 and change. So we haven't seen a drop off in usage. But his assist percentage last year was 21.3%. He averaged about 6 potential assists per game. This year, he's averaging over 9 potential assists per game. His assist percentage is 35%. And when you look at the top of the board for the Sixers, it was Harden with 17 potential assists per game last year. This year, it's Maxey with 12. So you've seen those assists go to Embiid, and you've also seen him seemingly be willing to take them. You and I were kind of talking about it this morning. I'm attributing at least some of that to the coaching change. But so far, we've seen a Joel Embiid that just contributes in more categories than he typically did. And he's obviously always been a very good point per minute guy, but that's just going to help, especially because it's not coming at the expense of more usage so far. So Embiid would always look really good here, but I think he's actually even more interesting than he normally would be based on what we've seen from him in this Sixers offense this season.
Obviously, he had one really big game, 1.84 fantasy points per minute so far this season for Embiid. Was not getting this much Maxey earlier today. He is 13% owned. I have 24% now, 8,400 for him, just playing really big minutes and playing a role that as the full-on second banana for Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's another one where I think he becomes easier to get to if Ingram is out, because
Sure.
then he's just not competing with him. But it's also like Scotty Barnes. If Ingram is in, then yeah, he doesn't. Maxi's projection looks a bit worse relative to alternatives, but that everybody's aware of that. So like people are just going to be jamming in Brandon Ingram, and Tyrese Maxey can certainly beat Brandon Ingram any given night.
How are you feeling about the rest of this team? Oubre stepping into the starting lineup, allegedly 17% owned. I'm doubling that number up as well. 5,800, small forward, power forward. And I don't think I have him projected all that well. In my normal model, 0.95 guy. He's been at 1.02 for the season. I got him at 0.88. I think, stepping into the starting lineup is certainly going to negatively impact some of his volume. He's not just going to be the same guy. But even still, I think he's really interesting.
Yeah, agreed. It's just nice positions, good price tag, opens up other stuff in your lineup. The minutes should be there. And he's not, it's not like he's a zero from a fantasy standpoint, even when he is playing with good players. Like you said, you're expecting less than a fantasy point per minute, but it's not like you're talking about somebody just running up and down the floor doing nothing. Kelly Oubre will take shots when they're available. So yeah, it's just a pretty favorable price tag. And I think the same can be said for Melton at 5,500. I probably prefer Oubre by a little bit just because he has forward eligibility. And Melton, I think, is more prone to just disappearing offensively than Oubre is. But, still a good price tag, still plenty of playing time for him.
Not much ownership coming into Melton or Tobias Harris. I don't have too much to say here. I think they're both fine. I think Melton's a bit of a better play than Harris, but I don't have much of either.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think Melton looks a little bit better just because of the salary. Harris does have small forward eligibility, but it's only small forward eligibility, so that still limits you a little bit. We have Melton being optimal 13% of the time compared to 5% for Harris.
Okay. House, Springer, Martin, Beverly, Reed, Covington. Do you see any path to any of these bench guys for Philly?
No, I mean, I think I'm good on those guys. It's, for one, you don't know how the minutes are going to be split up. And for two, none of them are great point per minute guys. So, it would be a little bit different if one of these guys were, I don't know, like Chris Boucher or something, where you're just like, well, I don't think he's going to play a lot, but if he just does, then he's going to smash. Guys like Robert Covington, House, KJ Martin, not to say that, if they play 20 minutes, you wouldn't want them at the salary, but it's not like it's a guarantee that they're just putting up a ton of points if they get the minutes.
I don't have anything else here for Philly.
Same.
I do have something for the people watching this show. It's a bit of a treat. It's an NBA treat. That is the promo code right now for our NBA lineup generator. You can get it for a week for $4.99. We talk a lot about the Sims. That's a big price point. This, very affordable to the average DFS player. If you're a 1 lineup, 2 lineup, 3 lineup guy, even upwards of 20, this is going to be the tool for you. We create all the lineups on the back end. We evaluate them. We get rid of everything that we think isn't very good. We present the rest to you. If you like it, click save. If you don't, click discard. Lineups will just keep popping up on your screen. You can make chalky lineups, balanced lineups, contrarian lineups. You can lock a player or swap a player if you want to. It's a great tool. It's perfect for mobile. If you're a big cell phone building guy, this is going to be the path that you're looking for. And honestly, the easiest way to say it is this. $4.99, you're not going to be too angry if for some reason you hate this tool. I don't think you will, but at $4.99, it's not a price point that's going to stick in your craw. So sign up with the link in the chat or in the description, $4.99 for the NBA lineup generator using the promo code NBA treat. One big word. All right, let's go to Detroit. 5-point dogs in New Orleans, 215 total. We have nothing to talk about with news here. Alec Burks questionable, Jalen Duren questionable. So assuming they are in, Jalen Duren is 23% owned on DK. Beef Stew's at 13 on DraftKings, 24 on FanDuel. Cade Cunningham is 5 on DK, 24 on FanDuel. Asar Thompson's getting a little bit of love, but let's start with Duren. 6,800 certainly looks interesting if he's able to be on the floor.
Yeah, a huge piece of news here because if he's in, he looks like one of the better center plays. Not quite as good as he did this morning just because of Zion being ruled out, but still looks very good. We have him getting 23% ownership, about 30% to be optimal. Rebounding numbers are fantastic. Playing time's been very good. Knock on wood, we haven't had the Pistons, jerking playing time around. They're running a pretty solid center rotation. They obviously have the potential to make things messy if they were to decide to play a 3-man rotation or something, but they're not. So that looks really good. The price tag has come up a bit, but it's fully warranted based on the playing time he's getting. And then if he's out, it's opening up one of the better values with Marvin Bagley at 4,400. It's opening up a 3K James Wiseman if you want to roll the dice there. I did last night. It went horribly, but I would probably do it again tonight if that opens up. So the center position for the Pistons, whoever's starting, is going to look really good at the very least.
Yeah, agreed. If we don't get Duren, $4,400 Marvin Bagley in the starting lineup is going to be aces from a point per dollar perspective. We saw it yesterday. Today will be no different other than the position, but get yourself some Marvin Bagley for sure and take some shots on James Wiseman. Maybe not as many shots as Adam's going to take, but take shots nonetheless. Who's the second best play on the Pistons? With the assumption Duren is in, obviously.
Yeah, with the assumption Duren's in, probably Thompson.
Yeah. I could go between him and Beef.
Yeah, so could I. I just know that when I did the lineup generator video on both sites, Thompson was showing up as somebody that we were getting quite a bit over the field on.
Okay. Yeah, I got to 12% Isaiah Stewart, so I'm very happy. I assume today's the day he goes for 45 now that I don't have like a giant stand on him. I'm a little lighter on Asar Thompson. I wish that I wasn't.
By the way, how many fantasy points was that for Dylan Brooks last night?
Too many? Give me a second. I have it in my sheet. It was... Chat might get to it before I do, but... That's Armani Brooks. That's too many days ago. Where is his name? 39 and a quarter.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Omar said,
Irritating.
if no Duren, Bagley, and Wiseman in the same lineup. So I did it last night, and I didn't mind it. The reason I didn't mind it is that Bagley was 4K, Wiseman was 3K. We didn't have a lot of good value, at least at the time of that game locking. But one big difference was that you could play Bagley at power forward. I think with it being a 4-game slate, you can still play them together. I don't like it as much, though, just because you are giving up both center spots. So, like, one big reason that you would want to play both Bagley and Wiseman together is to say, get to Joel Embiid. And you can't do that if you play them together. So I do think that even though it's a shorter slate, I actually like it less tonight than I did last night.
What was Bagley's price last night?
4K.
Okay.
So the prices are mostly the same. If Bagley had power forward eligibility, I wouldn't really think twice about it. But it's just that I don't like the opportunity cost is so high to give up. You know, any lineup that you have both of them, you just don't have Embiid, you don't have Joe Val, you don't have Nance, you don't have Carter. So the opportunity cost is just really, really high. I think I actually wouldn't get it as often tonight.
If Burks is out, do we go to Sasser?
You can. I mean, I don't really know what to expect there.
I
don't know how much of the playing time last night had to do with the foul trouble for Wiseman. We got Sasser and Wiseman subbing in at the same time. Sasser played 23 minutes. He played a lot more in the first half. I think you can at least roll the dice there at 3,600 if Burks is out.
Okay. That might be a decent spot where, like, instead of having Duren, Bagley, like, one of those guys becomes, instead of having Bagley, Wiseman, you know, maybe that's the spot where you turn Wiseman into Sasser to just have a different view of it all.
Right. Like, I think at 3,600, if Burks is out, there's obviously that path, especially if Burks and Duren are out. There's obviously that path to him getting minutes and having a big game. Got 23 minutes, had a big game yesterday. But, like, you can also very easily find how that doesn't work out. Jaden Ivey played 21 minutes yesterday. What if Jaden Ivey gets hot and gets all those first half minutes where Sasser was playing? What if Wiseman doesn't get in foul trouble, plays well? Do they give Wiseman more minutes at the expense of those smaller lineups? So there's a lot of ways it can go poorly, but if Burks is out, and especially if both Burks and Duren are out, I do like taking shots on him.
We haven't said his name at all, but Cade Cunningham, any interest at all? 8,500. I mean, on FanDuel, 8K point guard, shooting guard. I get why he's in a quarter of the lineups on a 4-gamer. 8,500, just basically unowned.
Yeah, I think much easier to get to on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think it's just more of a, this guy fit into a tournament lineup. I have a 5% owned, really high upside guy. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's getting to the point where I think it's disingenuous to say, oh, Cade Cunningham looks like a really good play when you also have Brandon Ingram potentially. You also have Scotty Barnes. You also have whoever else we already talked about, Maxey at that price range. So, I think it's very easy, even halfway through the slate, to see why it's difficult to get a lot of Cade Cunningham. But he does certainly fill that hole of just guy that can get 50 fantasy points at virtually no ownership on a 4-game slate.
I don't think we have any. Oh, we got to talk about your boy Killian Hayes, 4,600. I have greatly discounted some of his rates. He is not showing up for me.
Yeah, so we only have him at 20 DraftKings points now. I think we were higher than that this morning.
Yeah, I have 19.6 now too, so I'm on the same page.
I didn't hear what you said.
I'm 19.6 now, so okay. I'm on the same page because I was getting him this morning too.
Yeah. So like I'm rerunning everything now because like I said, I messed it up the first time, but I'm not expecting to get as much. I think for one, Zion being out just opens up at least a little bit more value, even if Ingram is in. You know, you can roll the dice on somebody like Larry Nance. You can get to more Joval. But so that, and then also, like you said, you know, Hayes just not producing at the same level so far this year. And there being a good reason for that. It's not just, oh, Killian Hayes played poorly through 4 games, let's not play him. There's very good reason to expect that what he's done so far is what he continues to do.
Anything else for the Pistons?
No.
So yeah, after the show, we got the news, Zion out. We really should have saw that one coming. Brandon Ingram, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I feel like it crossed my mind either. I think it was when we got the news. I was just like, oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah. And then Brandon Ingram, questionable. So we're waiting on that piece. It's massive. I assume you're getting him now if he's in because he and CJ are at the top of the heap here. 57% ownership to Ingram on DraftKings, 67 on FanDuel, 57 and 55 for McCollum across DK and FanDuel. Joval is 42% owned, 27% owned on FanDuel. I hate that I'm getting that. It really, I still don't trust them at all, but it helps that Zion's not there. And then we need to have a conversation because we don't have him projected with any sort of ownership, but does Jordan Hawkins just keep starting?
Yeah, so 2 things I wanted to double back on now that I got, I think, a semi-competent crunch done. I'm not getting as much Embiid now as I was this morning.
Okay.
That is because I'm getting a lot of Joval, so that's pretty easy to explain. I am getting 24% Alec Burks. Didn't specifically mention that from the Pistons, but if he is in, I do think he's a pretty viable, you know, tournament flyer at a weak position and a cheap price.
Do you think Jordan Hawkins is starting if Brandon Ingram is playing?
I
assume yes.
Probably.
You go CJ, Hawkins, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Joval.
Yeah, that would make sense. Because like I don't think they're going to start Nance next to Joval.
Neither do I.
They could against Detroit.
And then do we have a conversation about Cody Zeller as a backup center then?
Right.
Like,
I mean,
that's an interesting trickle down.
But like go like against let's say Duran starts. If you have this Duran and Stewart front court, you certainly could go to Nance and Joval.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so like for right now, I have 74% Jordan Hawkins. Like that's going to be a problem for me moving forward, but I assume he's starting, and if he is, I want him.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm not getting there. Looking to see what the minutes projection on him is, but
you're going to see like 22 or something.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, I'm at 20 DraftKings points right now. I think that is going to come up.
Yeah.
We only have him projected for 21 minutes right now.
Right. I went a bit higher.
Yeah.
Because I think he starts.
Yeah. And if he does, then he does still look good as a value option. Obviously.
And even if he doesn't start, like someone's got to play these minutes.
Yeah, but the problem is that he's 4,600, and is he really going to keep getting these shots, especially if Brandon Ingram's in? And if he's not starting,
sure,
Brandon Ingram's in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like if Brandon Ingram is in, even if he's starting, like it's not the same situation, but he's still a great point per dollar play for today at 4,600 in the starting lineup. As a backup, it's just like I probably have like 5 to 10%. He starts to look like Alec Burks, probably, you know, like some sort of random backup dude.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, like right now I have 8% of Hawkins with him projected kind of in between starting and being a backup.
Yeah. So I'm very intrigued by who that 4th starter ends up being. Or 5th starter, rather, I guess. Yeah. I mean, if Ingram's out, then we know what's happening.
Well, if Ingram's out, then it becomes really interesting. Like, do they go Hawkins in place of Ingram and Nance in place of Zion? Do they go Dyson Daniels?
Yeah, I mean, Hawkins is starting if Ingram is out. It's then the 4th spot that we're trying to figure out, which would be Matt Ryan.
Sure.
We're going to be swapping
be
something.
I think it's Dyson Daniels.
I think so too. I could see Nance because of Stewart.
I think Daniels or Nance. I think Matt Ryan starting would be more surprising to me than Daniels or Nance. If they go wing, I think it's Daniels. Yeah. If they go big, then it's Nance.
I agree. So yeah, like right now I have a shit ton of Jordan Hawkins, but it's just because my projection doesn't match current ownership. So there's that. What do we do with Larry Nance? 43. Well, let's talk Joe Val. 42% owned now, 5,900. We have to assume that this 24-minute a game, just the first, second, third quarter thing is less viable when Zion's gone. Like you just want your best players to play more, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So at the very least, you're expecting 48 minutes now between Joe Val and Nance. You're not expecting the small lineup with Zion at the 5.
I actually don't agree with you now. Cody Zeller can play minutes at center today.
Do you think they're putting Cody Zeller in the rotation? If they put Cody Zeller in the rotation, okay. So do you think they're putting Cody Zeller in the rotation if they're not playing Larry Nance next to Joe Val?
No,
right. That's what I'm getting at. Like one way or the other, there's more minutes here. You're not getting Zion at the 5 minutes, so you're either getting a 48-minute split between Joe Val and Nance, where it could be 24-24, but it could also be like 26-22 in favor of either of them. Or you're getting the 3-man rotation between the 4 and 5 with Joe Val, Nance, and Zeller. So Zion being out at the very least opens up a couple of minutes that you're expecting to go to the combination of Joe Val and Nance.
I got the 49% Joe Val. I don't want it. I went 26 minutes. I get why it's happening, though.
Yeah. Like one of Joe Val or Nance, at least one of Joe Val and Nance is in the closing lineup today, you would think.
Yes. At a minimum.
Right. And somebody said they don't play Nance next to Joe Val. Generally, they don't. But this is a weird matchup, and they're missing Zion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going back to last year because there was a lot of weird stuff with. I think if I remember right, last year, whenever Zion was out, people would play Nance more, and it didn't really lead to more minutes because he generally doesn't play next to Joe Val.
You are right.
But the reason that it's at least a possibility here is the Duren Stewart frontcourt.
Best I could tell here, they did not start alongside each other at all last year.
Yeah, I didn't think that they did. I couldn't remember if they played alongside each other.
But a lot of that just has to do with the fact that like Trey Murphy wasn't hurt at that moment. And
right. So that's what I was going to say too, is this conversation becomes a lot more interesting also if Ingram is out, because if Ingram's in, it's very easy, like we were saying, to just go Jordan Hawkins in the starting lineup, Herb Jones at the 4. If Ingram is out, you're losing those wing minutes and you need your wings to play the wing instead of sliding them all down.
It's a really interesting balancing act here. The starting lineup is massive for news. Like if Nance, like, do you like Nance at 4,300? Because I don't really have much.
I'd like him a lot more if he had power forward eligibility.
Yeah, like I gave him 22 minutes. I don't really see a scenario to project him for more than that, or too much more than that. I don't know if he could handle that.
Since the start of last season, 62 minutes, 134 possessions alongside Joe Val for Larry Nance.
Only 62 minutes.
Yeah. So again, they don't do it typically. It wouldn't be surprising in this game if you got a little bit of overlap.
Yeah. All right, keep your eyes peeled for that one, guys. Yeah, I got the 2% Nance. I don't expect it. $3,900 power forward center Nance on FanDuel. Very different play.
That looks good. DraftKings, it's more difficult, and it's going to be way more difficult. I mean, it's going to be difficult either way, but like if Duren gets ruled out, then you just have Bagley at that same price. But at the same time, if Duren's in, the opportunity cost is really high still because Duren looks good. But if Duren gets ruled out and you just have the same price Bagley as Nance, it becomes really tough.
It's crazy how, like, I'm glad there's an hour before all of these things. There's a lot of swapping to do throughout this entire slate.
Yeah, I'd rather there not be, but
me too. I'd like to go to bed.
Yeah, I would like to. I haven't decided if I'm going to just go to bed or go out and watch the football game for some reason.
I don't have that much interest in Herb Jones, and I don't think it matters too much if Ingram is in, but obviously if he's out, it's better.
Yeah, it's better for him if he's out, but not the type of profile that you expect to take a huge bump if he's out. They certainly could look to him a bit more offensively, but price tag at 5,500 isn't dirt cheap anyway. I think he's kind of just lineup filler. Like I'm getting like 6% right now. Fields at 10.
Okay. Let's see. Dyson Daniels. Point guard, shooting guard, 4,200. Fine if Ingram is in as a value option. Nothing special. He's 8% owned. Ingram goes out. Dyson Daniels. If starting, much better. If not starting, not really all that different.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much how I view it. It's just a situation where if he's starting, it's not great for his rates, but it's just such a good sign for his playing time. Whereas if he's coming off the bench, it's a lot riskier. I'm not getting to him right now with Ingram projected in. 4,200 is just a little bit more expensive than I want to pay for him, especially because he's getting ownership.
Okay. I don't really think that we're going to talk about Kira Lewis. What do we do with Matt Ryan? Small forward, 4K. Just a guy. If Ingram's out, he got to 27 minutes 2 games ago. Does he become a little bit more interesting? Not a great per minute, dude.
I didn't hear who you said.
Matt Ryan.
I have a really hard time getting there at 4K. It's not even like he's 3K.
Yeah.
I don't have him now. If Ingram's out, then he at least becomes, I guess, like throw a prayer and hope he gets hot from 3 worthy, but
right.
Probably still wouldn't.
All right. I don't think we have. Oh, I mean, we didn't really talk about CJ. 57% owned with Brandon Ingram in. Anything to add there? Or is he just absolutely awesome?
Yeah. So I had said that I'm getting to Ingram now, but not as much as the field. I am aggressively getting to CJ McCollum still.
Same.
72% McCollum if the slate started right now, 36% Ingram if the slate started right now. So they're projected for the same ownership right now. And I'm essentially cutting Ingram by like a third and then adding that on to McCollum. If Ingram's out, McCollum looks like probably the best, at least the best, non-punt play on the slate.
I don't think I have anything else here for New Orleans.
Me neither.
Then there we go. Folks, Bet365 is the sponsor. They love it when you guys hit the like button. It helps these videos out and it helps Bet365 out. We hashed out how interesting these states are, but for right now, it's just great to be in one of them. Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado. I'm talking to you guys. Bet $5 at Bet365. After clicking the link in the description, you get $150. It's that easy. Start a bankroll in the best way possible with very little risk. Check out the OddsShopper YouTube channel if you want to get some picks from some of our guys. Use oddshopper.com. Get some market-based plays, expected value, expected win rate, all of that good stuff. This is a great way to start off in sports betting if you've never taken advantage of these deals. You should be hitting up all of these sportsbook deals if you're in legal betting states. No reason to leave any free money on the table, and this is no different. You got to be 21 or over, 18 or over in Kentucky. And if you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. The Orlando Magic, 1.5-point favorites now in Utah, 221 total. No injury news that's relevant for the Magic. 33% ownership coming into Franz, 37 to Markelle Fultz, 21 to Banchero, 20 to Wendell Carter Jr., 19 to Suggs, 12 to Anthony. Looks like we're getting a lot of the Magic, but I didn't really get a big stand on anybody. I just kind of have all of these guys in like a similar amount.
Yeah, so that is one thing that looks different for me from this morning is this morning I wasn't really getting to them, and now I am. Markelle Fultz is the guy I'm getting to the most, getting around 52%. He's projected to be the highest owned guy on DraftKings from Orlando at 37%. Franz Wagner pulling 33% ownership. I'm getting to about 40, getting to about 38% Wendell Carter, who's pulling only about 20%. So over the field there. I'm not getting much Banchero, who's getting 20% ownership. I think he looks a little bit better on FanDuel with small forward eligibility. I'm getting to Mo Wagner at 5%. I think that's just a relatively low owned power forward value play that goes away once we get other value.
Okay. Yeah, I got to 29% Carter. I tried to get away from him. I really dug into rates. Still there. 20% of Banchero, 20% of Franz, 20% of Cole Anthony. I'm really light on $5,500 Fultz, though. 37% ownership, 12% for me.
You said you're light on Fultz?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm not light on him. Of the guys getting ownership.
To keep in mind, I have so much Hawkins that like I'm not surprised that I'm losing guards because of it.
Right. If I start getting more Hawkins, I'm going to start losing these other guards. As far as the guys getting ownership on DraftKings, I'm not really getting to Banchero. I don't think I'm really getting to Cole Anthony. Yeah, I'm not getting to Banchero, Anthony, Suggs.
Okay.
Are you getting Teddy Mo Wagner?
8%.
Okay. I
can handle that.
Yeah, I have 22.
Okay. Well, how many? What do you got him projected for?
Well, and keep in mind, like I don't have Hawkins the size you do right now.
Fair.
Like 16 DraftKings points.
Okay. Yeah, he obviously Hawkins is very much skewing a lot of the things that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and I mean the Wagner play makes sense to me just from the standpoint of with the information we have right now. He's 3,800. He's 5% owned. He has power forward eligibility. He's backing up Wendell Carter Jr. You get foul trouble to Carter, and you suddenly have a good point per minute guy playing more minutes. So the path for him getting there at low ownership makes complete sense to me. If I get less than 22%, I certainly will not be upset because it's an extremely risky low floor play.
I don't think we can get to any of like the true bench guys, Gary Harris, Joe Ingles, John Isaac.
Yeah,
none of that it seems possible. Yeah, I don't really see it. I don't really think I have anything else to add here for Orlando. We just got the super chat from Olrat. Should I just fade Toronto, Philly and wait for news and DK? No.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I will say
you can't like you can build a lineup like that for sure, but
right,
like that would be my intention.
Like, right now, if the slate started, my highest owned guy from that game would be Maxey at 26%. So there's nobody from that game showing up to me as like, you have to have this guy. It would be crazy to like build a player pool without him. But I still don't think it's a great idea because there are definitely good pieces from that game, whether it's Maxey, Embiid, mid-range guys like Oubre. Toronto's certainly got plays as well. So it's not like there aren't things to like from that game. If you're playing a lot of lineups, I wouldn't take that approach. If you're playing like one, I think it's perfectly fine. Or, a couple.
Yeah. Yeah, like you can very easily build a lineup without it.
Right.
But I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, my top ranked lineup, if the slate started right now, doesn't have anybody from that game.
Okay, perfect.
Neither does my second lineup. Or my
You want to go to the Utah side?
Yeah.
So the Jazz have some pretty sizable ownership numbers here. 59% coming to Jordan Clarkson, $5,400 shooting guard. 39 to John Collins, $5,600 power forward center. 36 to point guard Talen Horton-Tucker, and another 13 to Lauri Markkanen. I'm still getting to the 19% of Markkanen, so I'm very happy there. But, oh boy, 69% Jordan Clarkson, 55% John Collins. Bring on the Jazz.
Yeah, and I'm getting both guys. It's just so difficult to get away from them. Clarkson at 5,400 just makes no sense. Complete mispricing. 59% owned, 34% chance of being optimal. It's just another situation where, like, yes, he's going over owned. He's not 60% to be optimal, but you're still talking about a $5,400 player that right now has a 1 in 3 chance of being in the optimal lineup. Then you also keep in mind that you don't need the actual optimal lineup typically. So his chances of being in the winning lineup or the best lineup made are even higher than 1 in 3. Minutes are there. Opportunities are always there. He's a perfectly fine point per minute guy. Looks really, really good. And then the same goes for John Collins. He's just too cheap with power forward eligibility at 5,600. You can play him at center if you need to. Also 39% ownership, 36% chance of being optimal. So not even a big gap there between his optimal percentage and ownership. If the slate started right now, Clarkson's my highest owned guy and Collins is my third highest owned guy. CJ McCollum sandwiched in between.
Yeah. And I don't really mind any of this stuff. Like, John Collins is looking a little bit more like John Collins, and Jordan Clarkson's price is just kind of insane for what he does for this team.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get the random 8% owned Jordan Clarkson that we ended up getting last night, but no, I don't really care.
THT, 5,100, point guard, only 36%. I only have 29, so I call that a win. I just never am happy that I have him, even though this dude scores a fantasy point per minute.
Yeah, I lost a lot of him from this morning. This morning I had a ton of Clarkson, Collins, and Horton Tucker. Now I just have Clarkson and Collins. We do have Horton Tucker going the most over-owned of those three. 22% chance of being optimal compared to 34 and 35% on the other two. 36% ownership, still basically the same as Collins. So he's the easier one to get away from, I think. Only point guard eligible. I think that probably the amount of Markelle Fultz I'm getting now is what cut into Horton Tucker a lot. But that's a guy where it's someone where I think he's a perfectly fine play. He's too cheap. I understand why the ownership is there. It's not like he's a bad play, and if you put him in a lineup, that's bad. It's just I'm having an easier time getting away from him than I am getting away from guys like Clarkson and Collins. And if you start playing all those guys together, then you're starting to run into lineups that just have tons of ownership.
You're more likely to get, I couldn't even get those words out. Are you more likely to get to Walker Kessler or Kelly Olynyk?
I mean,
the public is not getting to Walker Kessler.
Yeah, the answer for me right now is neither.
Yeah, same. I have 3% of Olynyk, but I really don't see how you get to Kessler at just center.
Yeah, like the power forward for Olynyk is nice, but still doesn't project very well. If the slate started right now, I wouldn't have either one.
Is there anybody else we need to talk about here? Colin Sexton at 4,400. I think the conversation ends there. Keontae George. I don't know.
Yeah, the only Utah guys I'm getting are the three that everybody's getting.
Okay.
I mean,
the good news is for this game, we're not waiting on any news.
Right. Markkanen's in that Cade Cunningham bucket where, he's relatively expensive. He's not getting that much ownership. If you want to hope he gives you a big game, then fine. But pretty tough to pay for him, I think.
All right. Final game, folks. Make sure you're hitting that like button one last time. We are at 233. Kind of an embarrassing number there, folks. I need you guys to help us out here. At least get up and over to that 300 mark. We got to talk quickly about the schedule for the rest of the day. This is pretty easy. Coming up next, NBA Live Before Lock. They'll take you all the way up until 7 o'clock. Can't beat this coverage. 2 straight hours of NBA content. It doesn't get any better anywhere else. We don't stop there, though. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. NFL Live Before Lock. You've got the Bills and another team, right? Now, is it the Bills? Who plays tonight?
Titans and Steelers.
Bills are Sunday night?
Sure.
Well, they got the Bengals, right? It's the prime time DeMar Hamlin redux.
Yeah.
Think DeMar Hamlin's gonna have a tough night sleeping Saturday?
I mean, he's not gonna see the field, so
like because he won't play, or
I'm pretty sure
other reasons.
I'm pretty sure he hasn't even been dressing.
They don't think that they have robots that can play football yet. They can walk around and stuff, but they can't be athletic enough to really get things done. Is that what's happening?
Exactly.
Yeah, I knew they were a primetime game this week. I couldn't remember if they were tonight or not. But either way, you get an NFL primetime Live Before Lock. So check that out. I am S&P. I am. Final thing to touch on. Stokastic.com/avatar. You guys are leaving the opportunity to get a month of our tools for free on the table if you don't use it. DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever you're at, go to stokastic.com/avatar, download it, load it up to your profile. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, you get a free month of whatever package you want. It doesn't get any easier than that. It costs you absolutely nothing. If you're not using any sort of avatar for a site, just use ours, guys. It's really an advantageous thing for you, and you won't lose a single thing. You can join all of the other Stokastic avatars at the top of the contest because they were all over the place last night. So again, stokastic.com/avatar. You got to tweet your win to @StokasticHOF. That is essential for us. That's the reason we do it. So you help us out there. We help you out with a month of our content. All right, let's close it out. San Antonio Spurs, 9-point dogs in Phoenix, 227 total. Not too much to worry about here on the San Antonio side. Devin Booker still questionable on the other side at a inconvenient price tag for swaps if you get that news after 9 o'clock. But we can talk about the status of Booker in a little bit. First, let's go to San Antonio, where it's kind of a bunch of dudes that are very similar. Chetty is 13% owned, and I'm getting that, which is awful. 8% owned Charles Bassey, which I'm doubling up. So apparently your Muscala is my Bassey, unless you're about to tell me you got Bassey too.
Mo Wagner?
Huh? Mo Wagner, whatever. Yeah. Same guy. 12% ownership to Jeremy Sohan, 19 to Keldon Johnson, 15 to Zach Collins. All I have above 10% is Chetty and Charles Bassey. So I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, I kind of wish I was there, but I'm getting to San Antonio, and I don't love it, but the lack of ownership is pretty appealing because the price tags are fine. Zach Collins, 15% ownership, 23% chance of being optimal. I'm getting around 36% of him right now. He's my highest owned guy from San Antonio, but getting to 18% Vassell, 16% Trey Jones. So basically 2x the field on Vassell, like 2x the field on Jones. Keldon Johnson coming in at 32%. Skipped over him, but 2x the field there. Yeah, I'm kind of just like 2x the field on all the starters.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that anymore. I'm on team bench mob apparently.
So I actually take it back. So Collins, Johnson, Vassell, and then Jones, who's not a starter. I'm like 2x the field. Sohan, I'm around the field. I'm not getting to Wembanyama anymore. I was getting a lot of him this morning. I'm not now. Nobody really is getting to him. Oh, and I have like 10% Chetty also.
Thoughts on Bassey? Just the same situation?
Yeah, I think he's fine. I just really prefer the power forward eligibility on this slate because of how good center is. Like, this isn't a great slate in terms of there being a lot of good plays, but there's a lot of good, there's a lot of good guards. There's a lot of good centers. There's not a lot of good forwards. And so I really like, if you're going to roll the dice on one of these backup guys, like that's why I think Wagner is showing up as the guy for me is it doesn't cost me any of, Joval or Duran or Collins. It's just, I can throw him in and still get 2 centers.
Talk me out of Chetty.
I mean, I had 30 whatever percent this morning. I'm down to 10.
Okay.
He's just,
I only have 14. So.
Right. No, I mean, he's just a guy that he's forward eligible, which is just super valuable on this slate as far as value guys go. It's just so much easier to pay down at those positions than it is at guard or at center. And I think that's what it is. You're expecting mid-teens in minutes from him. Maybe he gets hot. Maybe he plays well and gets a few extra minutes. But it's really, I think, just he's 3,500 while guys like Dyson Daniels are 4,200. And they're functionally the same play right now.
It's the worst, dude. It's the absolute worst. I just don't like playing. I just don't want it.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than Dean Wade.
Is it? It's the same as Dean Wade.
It feels better because Chetty's supposed to be able to do things. He just can't.
Fair. You getting any Wemby? I don't have a share.
No. Had a lot this morning. He went away.
I would really like to roster that dude some point in time this year. It doesn't appear to be happening anytime soon.
Yeah. Remember when we did that with Luka for a month?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, he's still only at 1.25 fantasy points per minute, 79. I don't think he's a problem or anything. He's just clearly not a standout point per dollar dude.
Yeah.
Final team, Phoenix Suns. 21% ownership to Nurk, 12 to Okogie. No one else in double digits. I only have 3% of KD now, which is wild. I do have 11% of Devin Booker. What do we do? I want to talk this through. What is the natural move if the Devin Booker news comes in at 9:30?
And he's out?
Yeah.
You'll
Devin Vassell?
Right.
That's it, right? I mean,
if you can only make one swap, then it's either Vassell or Wemby, if you have it at utility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that quickly. If you're building a lineup today and you have more than one person in this last lineup, make sure you're putting Devin Booker in the utility spot if you can.
Yeah.
More so than the guard or forward spot.
That doesn't matter.
Well, I'd rather, if I can get him in utility, then I can put in a forward.
Yeah, never mind.
I might be able to get to Durant. Who the hell knows what's in my lineup at that point in time?
Right. Well, I was thinking if you have more than one guy, you can still move them around. But if you have Booker at shooting guard, you still need a shooting guard.
Yeah. You want to do your best to get him into utility if you can, without sacrificing the rest of those swaps.
Yeah. Are you planning to go ahead with him in?
Yes.
Yeah, same.
And I got 11% right now, which is It's not a stand where I'm just like, shit, I really need to have a plan here. 11 is just like, okay, I can handle that.
Yeah, like I'm pretty happy right now that I'm getting 2%. Like I certainly wouldn't be upset if I was getting more Booker because he's not going to be, he's naturally just not going to be as popular as he would be if he were to get rolled in right now. He's 9,500. Obviously, he can go nuts. But from a headache standpoint, I'm not upset that I'm not getting
there. Josh Okogie is the guy I'm getting the most of. 14%. I had a lot more of Phoenix earlier today. That's not happening now.
Yeah, I had a lot more.
What are you doing with Nurk and Okogie?
So Nurk's the guy I'm getting to here. I'm getting 32%. He's projected for 21. Just another good center play at 7K. I'm not getting a lot of Durant. I'm not, like I said, not getting Booker. I'm not getting a lot of Okogie. It's pretty much Nurkic. I'm getting like 10% Okogie, so right in line with the field on him. Getting 10% Durant, so actually 2x the field, but still not a lot. Nurk is the guy really showing up for me.
What do we do if Devin Booker is out and we have time to deal with it?
Durant will look better. I think from a projection standpoint, it still ends up being close between him and Embiid. But right now, neither guy is really popular because they're just relatively difficult to get to. On FanDuel, Durant already, I think, looks better than Embiid because of the positional eligibility. Durant will look absolutely fantastic on FanDuel if Booker gets ruled out. Already looks really good just because he is relatively inexpensive and he's small forward eligible, where you need two small forwards. So Durant already looks really good on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he will certainly look better than he does right now. It'll still be a situation though where like he's still 10-8 and potentially you don't have a ton of value on this slate. It'll also make, Eric Gordon look better. It'll make Grayson look better.
I don't have any of those dudes, by the way. Gordon, Allen, Goodwin,
but
Little.
That's what Booker projected in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Nas Little played 18 minutes last game. He's 3,100.
I don't have anything else to add here for Phoenix. I'm kind of happy that it's like relatively unappealing.
Yeah, agreed. I'm trying to. I think it was SMP asked how many of my lineups had Carter and Wagner together. I didn't set any rules, and I had actually been meaning to look to make sure I didn't have a lot of them together because I don't want, like, if I get it here or there, I think it's okay with it being a 4-game slate, but I certainly don't want it to be like, of my 22% Mo Wagner, 100% is with Carter or anything like that. So I am pulling that up now. I hadn't actually looked though. So that'll be a minute, but
apparently Joval does really good against Detroit. I bet he had a really nice couple of years against Andre Drummond. Yeah. Is that against Greg Monroe?
He actually, if I remember right, he has historically torched Drummond.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
I mean, like to the point where it's like, holy shit, this is a lot.
Yeah, Drummond's trying to get out of there, finding people with guacamole on the sidelines and shit, just smeared it on his face. Like, fuck this, man. I'm out.
Yeah, so of if the slate started now, of the 11 lineups with Mo Wagner, 2 of them have Carter. I don't particularly even like that, but it's not the end of the world.
Any final thoughts on this slate before we duck on out of here and head to NBA Live before lock?
No, I guess, the big news you're waiting on early is, or hopefully we get it, is the Duran and Burks news. But that news plus Ingram plus Booker is what you're waiting for.
Hopefully we get the Burks news earlier than 8:01.
I mean, it was 8:10 yesterday, so that would be an improvement. Or no, it was it was like 8:10 yesterday. It was 10 minutes after the game was supposed to start. Prince was like 16 minutes after the game was supposed to start.
Well, that'll do it, folks. Enjoy NBA Live before lock. Thank you guys for being here. Hit the like button. Thanks to Jordan for producing. Good luck on this one, guys. It's kind of a wild 4-gamer. See you guys at the finish line. Process show tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. We'll talk about it. Peace.
Let's go. You got that good internet.
Good.
Oh my goodness. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, presented by Bet365. I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist over at the Twitters, over at X, whatever the hell they are calling it these days. I know what I'm calling this guy these days. Matthew Belman, my dude, hanging out here at Fantasy Tips Matt over on the Twitters himself. How you doing, my dude?
I'm good, brother. Excited to be on here with you. We were discussing a little bit before. I got the internet upgrade at 500, so we're rocking over here. Can't wait to see how it goes.
How's Pornhub running?
Everything's running great, man. Pornhub, X Hamster, all the above.
Mm-hmm. These are good things. It's important. I mean, these are the important things. Just looking out for you.
You know it.
As new acquainted friends, I must say, these are the things I just have to make sure we got on blast. I know Jordan Klein's got that good internet himself. Oh yeah, he does. He's banging in his white tee or in his whatever it is, wife beater thingy. He's everybody.
What I failed to realize is that in specific areas, there's like a certain company that you need to use for internet. So like in my area, it's Spectrum. But we had AT&T forever just because we have DirecTV, got the bundle, whatever. So we had AT&T for like 6 years. Never really thought it was too much of an issue. Our internet was not great, but we live in an area without great service. So once I put two and two together, got with Jordan, changed services, and now we're really rolling over here with great numbers. So I'm excited to be on, and hopefully we have no issues.
Yeah, it's all about that download, right, Jordan Klein? It's never that upload, right? Or is it the other way around? I think it might actually be the other way around. It's the upload, isn't it?
Well, for your purposes, it's probably more download. But for my purposes, probably more upload.
Okay, gotcha. Nobody gives a shit. Let's talk basketball.
I still don't even know, but he's got me checking the Ookla speed test every day to make sure I'm on point.
Oh, yeah. Speed test. Everybody should have the app. Everybody should give a shit about that. It's exciting, but I give a shit about this 4-game NBA slate we have before us. First off, right off the bat, we've got this awesome opportunity. Let's finish at the top of leaderboards. I've been seeing a ton of them. I know I saw Tom Kennedy, our CEO here, tweet out all of the top of the leaderboards throughout the entire industry. He himself winning 50K over in the FanDuel streets. Go get that avatar. Get yourself some good freeness by winning some of these GPPs by finishing in the top 3 at Stokastic HOF. You simply tweet it at that. You're going to get yourself a free month of the Stokastic package. Wanted to throw that in here as we get ourselves going because, well, free stuff is the best stuff. Free 99 is the best 99 if you ask me. So fire it up. Good stuff. Hall of Fame. Standing in the Hall of Fame. Stokastic HOF over on the Twitters. Let's party, friends. But 4-game NBA slate, we're waiting on some news. We have a lot of different pieces that we need to kind of have a little bit of clarity on. Specifically, my guy, Jalen Duren here. That game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We have an amazing kind of like waterfall start, I kind of call it. 7 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and of course, 10 p.m. has the biggest piece there with Devin Booker. Will he or won't here? I'm going to throw this out here first. Because it's Brandon Ingram, Jalen Duren, Devin Booker, which piece of news is going to help your lineup construction the most?
I think it's Ingram, just because the ripple down effect from him being out, like, just is so huge on a slate like this, especially in such a good spot against Detroit. It all matters. So, interesting that we have, like you said, all these games starting at different times. I really don't like that. I like the slates where they all start like around the same time. Rarely happens in NBA though, just with how the teams are spread out. So take it as it comes. I think the Ingram news is the most important, probably followed by Duren. The Booker news is important, but not as important as it's been recently, just because guys have been priced up. So they're priced up for him already to be out. So there don't seem to be like many musts if he's out. And if he's in, it obviously makes those guys look worse. So I still like Kevin Durant. You can look at the ancillary pieces, but the big news for me is coming from the New Orleans game. How about you?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm discovering with my lineups is some of these Phoenix pieces, even with Devin Booker in, I think they're going to be low-owned tournament darts. With Devin Booker out, they'd still be pretty low-owned tournament darts, so it doesn't change the complexion as much as it normally would. They're priced for the absence of Devin Booker. If he ends up in, Yeah, everybody's going to look worse, but it doesn't mean that you can't get an outlier Eric Gordon game there at 5,500 as a deviation piece off of Markelle Fultz, off of DeAnthony Melton, lots of pieces in that range that for me, I'm just finding myself getting to a smattering of these guys. I'm going to build out a little bit with Devin Booker, but in no way is he a priority. I don't know what to make of these minutes right from the get-go. Gonna be tough for me to really overextend myself into that 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific game, the way that I might on other slates, just because I do think Detroit, New Orleans, lots of ways where this breaks, where that ends up being the majority of my exposure. I love an 8K Ingram on DraftKings. I love Jalen Duren if he ends up in. So we're going to be waiting on that news. Hopefully we get it before we get done with this show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then 15 minutes after, we're going to turn it over to our friends for the NFL Live Before Lock, Tennessee and Pittsburgh. Excited for that showdown. Got some lineups that I'll be building along with all of you for that. So check out that great program. But you ready to kind of dive into this slate because there's a lot to get to?
There is a lot to get to. I'm going to start off with a question to you.
Okay.
I know you're usually a big proponent of late swapping, unless like guys are a must. I know you view late swapping as like just a key and an edge over the field. I don't agree or disagree with that. I think it's a slate by slate thing. Tonight, though, like I think it's totally reasonable to just skip the first game or only have a piece or two and just wait to build your lineups. How do you see that?
There's certain ceilings that are tough to neglect. Obviously, Joel Embiid,
Sure.
especially if Kevin Durant does have Devin Booker playing alongside him. Tyrese Maxey is going to take a large role in this offense. But then outside of Kelly Oubre, I don't really have exposure to Tobias Harris. DeAnthony Melton's okay to get to, although his ownership's continued to go down as we've started to get some of this news on other pieces that may or may not be a major part of the rotation of the complexion of this league. Zion Williamson specifically. Once he got ruled out, I think the Pelicans Detroit game became extra appealing. That's for sure. But I'm with you where I think Joel Embiid is kind of a luxury item. Tyrese Maxey's the most popular piece there, along with Kelly Oubre. I'm going to get to a little bit of both of them, but nothing that I'm going to be going crazy with. I do think Detroit, New Orleans, depending how that news comes out, either way, I'm going to get to a ton of CJ McCollum. I'm going to get to a ton of Brandon Ingram if he's in. I'm going to get to a ton of Jordan Hawkins. If Jalen Duren's in, I'm going to probably have him be the most popular piece of Detroit. So lots of ways where that game ends up being a lot of my lineups and then finding pieces here or there. I think Josh Okogie later on, I think that's one extra piece that I'm kind of giving a little bit of a bump to just so I have some swappability between forwards, between trying to get to some San Antonio pieces where there's just a lot of those mid-range pieces. So for me, it's not like late swap is the thing that's the say all end all because people are doing it a lot these days, but it's more of like making sure that my lineups make sense for certain pieces from Phoenix that I want to be swapping into. And that's just getting a little bit more exposure to San Antonio, more than I thought I would get. I'm getting to more San Antonio right now than I am Phoenix.
Yeah, that makes sense, just given the price tags.
Yeah. Anywho, we are going to look at the top end here. Let's go to guard. Let's go position by position this time around. We talked a little bit about the expensive pieces, the mid-range pieces and things of that nature, but at guard, I'm looking at the top end. It's obviously Devin Booker if he's in. Tyrese Maxey is going to be another guy that you can get to. Cade Cunningham, probably a little bit more contrarian. Wild to see 5.4% ownership next to his name. At the top end of guard, who are you landing on the most?
At the top end of guard, it's more like the mid-tier for me here. It's McCollum right now, assuming that, well, either if Ingram is in or out, it doesn't really matter. But if Ingram's out, McCollum is, probably the lock of all locks here. He was a lock last night with Ingram out. He's way too cheap. He's priced for all these guys to be in, and he would still be a good play in that scenario. Now with no Zion, Ingram questionable, and he's obviously really dealing with something because he's missed 2 games. I almost don't expect him to play here. That's just my personal opinion. I have no knowledge one way or the other. But if I were, if someone had a gun to my head and said, do you think he's playing or not? I'd say no. So that makes McCollum look even better. And then all the New Orleans guys, Jordan Hawkins, only guard eligible. Dyson Daniels becomes in play. And then it's really hard to talk about guards and not mention Jordan Clarkson, who's just mispriced at 5,400. So like that's where I'm really looking at in the guard range. I don't really see much above there that I think is a priority. Sure, Maxey looks good, but you mentioned it with Embiid that he's a luxury item. I think that Maxey is too.
Yeah, I'm probably with you where I think Jordan Clarkson, that's the guy that I'm getting to the second most out of anybody on this slate. CJ McCollum currently getting to the absolute most. I'm looking, they took the tag off of Brandon Ingram here. That's kind of weird. But somebody was asking in the chat if I'm operating as if they're both in or out. I don't really have to make that decision right now. I'm going to be making it a little bit later. So if that news breaks while we're on the show, we'll be able to analyze it. I don't know as it stands right now, but I have so much exposure to New Orleans, Detroit, and I will no matter what. Then I'm going to craft my lineups and be swapping into what I want. I'm under the assumption right now that they're in until being told otherwise. So that's what we're doing. Again, questionable. It'd be one of those things where you're going to get to a lot of weird pieces if you rule them out here at this point in time. So I'm just not. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Jordan Clarkson, phenomenal piece there. 5,400 shooting guard only now over on DK, which I think is actually reducing his ownership compared to where I was expecting it to be. 52.8%. It's a lot, but it's not as much as I was anticipating. So that's kind of a wild one here. Let's talk about some of these mid-range guys that are more important. You talked about Jordan Hawkins, who we're going to be getting to him, Markelle Fultz, Talen Horton-Tucker. That's an uncomfortable click here from time to time, but I think it's warranted here back-to-back. I think you could see him in line for a little bit more duty. We have him for 26 minutes here. He's traditionally been around a fantasy point per minute guy, him and Clarkson. So I kind of like both of them on this slate, have no problem playing them together. Anybody here in this mid-range of guard that's pulling ownership that you're just higher or lower on than the field?
I think it's so dependent on the Ingram news, right?
Yeah.
It's just, we don't know yet. Like if Ingram's in, I don't have any interest in those secondary New Orleans pieces, really. McCollum still looks good, but not the secondary pieces, at least as much to me. So it's all so hingent on that. I think that like looking at the upper tier of the mid-range, like a guy like Devin Vassell, really interesting. You know, not pulling the ownership. You mentioned it already with the Spurs. They're not getting love here. We had this same game play out on Tuesday night. Another small slate, I'm pretty sure. And all the Spurs were the nuts, more or less. You needed those guys. So wouldn't be the craziest thing to expect that to happen here. We'll get to other positions where I like them a little bit more. But guard looks like a mid-range tier for me today.
Yeah. How about this one? Because one guy you didn't need on that slate was Jeremy Sohan. He played a season-high 30 minutes, only put up 24 DraftKings points, but over the course of this season, 5,600 point guard, small forward eligibility. Pretty interesting eligibility there. He's been right around a 0.93 fantasy point per minute guy who just played 30 minutes and is coming in a little bit under projected for me in terms of ownership on this slate. I think there's a little bit of positive leverage to be going his direction. I like the eligibility as well. You can kind of maneuver him around a lot of spots based on the Booker news later on. He's a piece that I'm surprised to just see beginning 9.9% ownership over on DK. So I like Sohan as a contrarian piece. I also really find it to be like Dennis Schroeder's season is in full effect right now. 6,200 for him coming off of yesterday, 29 minutes, 49 fantasy points. And Toronto likes to play slow. They have been dead last in pace in the association so far this season, just 95.8 possessions per 48 minutes. But I do like what Dennis Schroeder's been doing from a distribution standpoint. Really good offensively, has always been a pretty decent defender, kind of putting it all together in the early tenure here for Toronto. I think that's one more piece of that Philadelphia game that I want to be a little bit over the field on at 11%. Is there somebody pulling less ownership that's below 7K here that you find yourself just a little bit more enticed to roster than the field is?
Yeah, I think a guy right now, and again, it's hard to speak up. I don't want to say the same thing over and over again, but a guy like Dyson Daniels looks really good. Ingram's out. We don't know what New Orleans' starting lineup's going to be with Zion out now, what they're going to do with Nance and Valanciunas. But either way, like Zion being out, a lot of usage gone. If Ingram's out, even more usage gone. Dyson Daniels is a guy that can pick up a little bit of that. And even if he's coming off the bench, like I don't mind that at all on these short slates. He's, he'll play minutes with McCollum, obviously, but if he gets minutes without him, he's just going to have the ball in his hands even more. So he's a guy I'm looking at. This slate is pretty concentrated on ownership, and it makes sense to me. The guys that should be getting love are getting love. Another guy in the mid tier that I like a lot that looks pretty good to start the season. It's always tough with the Orlando guard situation just because they have, 4 guys that basically do the same thing. But I like Jalen Suggs. He's the cheapest of them. He's starting. He looks good. Obviously, a lot of pedigree coming from Gonzaga, high draft pick, etc. He's talented. I don't think he's like any more or less talented than Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, etc. But he's the cheapest. He's starting. I like him here.
Brandon Ingram ruled out. So this is going to be a fun one. He is the most popular play on the slate as of right now in our run. We must remove him. He will not be played by me because he is not playing basketball here. Oh my goodness, CJ McCollum, you are going to be in just about everything that I do on planet Earth. I'm kind of nervous how much CJ McCollum I'm going to have in my life. It might be borderline, where it's lock season. Yesterday, ended up with just about that much. Talked about it throughout 37 minutes, 55.75 DraftKings points. People were DMing us, Greg and myself, just incessantly. Oh my God, CJ McCollum sucks. Oh my God. He is a phenomenal play yet again today. And somehow, some way, he's still $7,200 here coming off of yesterday because the prices came out earlier. I mean, what's the aftermath here of Brandon Ingram being out for you?
First off, when you said Ingram was out and then you said, oh my goodness, CJ McCollum, I thought you were about to say, oh my goodness, CJ McCollum is out. So
no, I would be in shambles right now. We would just have 5 Pelicans in every lineup if that were the case.
CJ McCollum was an insta play last night at 7,200.
Yes.
Now there were Luka was on the slate without Kyrie. So I get it why he wasn't, crazy high owned, but for me, he was one of the best plays on the slate. People fail to really understand in NBA DFS that especially guys like McCollum that are going to get playing time no matter what and usage, that not all fantasy points come in equal waves, right? If a guy gets 40 DraftKings points, he's probably not going to get 10 in the first, 10 in the second, 10 in the third, 10 in the fourth. A guy like McCollum can get hot really easy, and people just, fail to realize that NBA scoring guys can get hot quickly. So the side note ended. The Brandon Ingram effect is real here. I wasn't expecting him to play. I like all these secondary pieces. Makes me even like a guy like Nance more. He's already in the rotation. They don't love playing him with J-Val. I wish he had forward positioning, but he doesn't. He's a productive DFS player, especially in a game like this. I'm surprised the total's not higher in this game, but I think it's a sloppier 215, and that can be really good for DFS purposes. Lots of turnovers, which means lots of steals, blocks, etc. I like this whole game. I think I like it even more now that Ingram's out. I like all those New Orleans guys, whether it's McCollum, Daniels, Jordan Hawkins, who doesn't seem afraid to shoot at all. So I like all of them. They're top tier plays on this slate in my eyes.
Brandon Katz, I just had to throw it out there earlier that he said that I had a dumb take about the fact that Toronto's playing slow, which is just a stone cold fact. It's not even an opinion. It's a fact. And then he proceeded to say his own take, which was that the home team controls pace, of which my brain is still trying to wrap around how somebody
what does that even mean?
Is that idiotic? I mean,
I would say it's in most other sports, the team that's winning and the team that's, the better team usually controls pace. That is what, most sport, that's what happens in most sports. So basketball's no different. It's not the home team, the away team or anything like that. It's the better team is predicting pace.
Mr. Katz, what you have just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. So we go to anything else you want to talk about here at guard? Actually, we should round out this New Orleans Pelicans news, that's for sure. But Jordan Hawkins dance in my khaki pants, there's nothing better. 4,600, 35 and 37 minutes the last two. I'm just going to put him in for 34 minutes, and I'm going to get to an absolute metric shit ton of this guy. He's got to be value play du jour off of this news. I'm going to get myself to some Herbert Jones again, even though Herbert Jones hasn't been going well so far this season. I have to be taking that shot here again. Matt Ryan probably goes into consideration here as well. Lots to kind of mine out. I'm going to let things run here a little bit at Stokastic, but anything else from a value perspective you really got your eye on?
Yeah, one guy that I want to talk about, glad you asked me about value. this is only if Duren and Burks are out. Marcus Sasser, like, played good minutes last night, was really productive in college at Houston, like a defensive stalwart. So he's interesting to me at 3,600. Now, it's far from a lock. Jaden Ivey still only played like 20 minutes last night. He could easily play more. But Sasser's interesting to me, not getting any love at that cheap price point. You know, if he's going to play, like, I certainly wouldn't play him because of blowout run, but he's going to play blowout run no matter what. So, like, if he's in the regular rotation and the game happens to blow out, I like him even more. So I think he's sneaky. Have you thought about him at all?
Yeah, he was awesome in the preseason. Going back to Summer League, he was a bucket. The dude's a bucket. You look at, I know they played Oklahoma City back-to-back during the preseason, and I think he was just close to optimal on both of those slates. I mean, it was ridiculous. He went out. Let me find the box score here of it. Marcus Sasser was 26 minutes in both of those, 36 and 30 DraftKings points respectively. So better than a point per minute guy there at that point in time. Played those 24 minutes. I mean, for me, it's all about what happens with Alec Burks, because if Alec Burks comes out there, I can't imagine that Sasser is going to play any kind of nominal amount. I will have some interest in Alec Burks as a super contrarian piece at 4,900. Barring the Jalen Duren news, too, where there are a lot of iterations where they can go small. Marvin Bagley gets benched at the end of that game yesterday, even though he played 33 minutes. Anybody who was watching saw him get benched the last 3. So go ahead.
He played 33 minutes a lot because Wiseman picked up 3 fouls in like 2 minutes. So he came in right away. I'm real hesitant on Bagley if Duren doesn't play, but we'll get to that when we talk about centers. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're just fine. Also, for the people who don't know, that was Billy Madison. Saw that people were throwing it in chat. Didn't think I needed to cite my source, but just in case, that was not original material, but it's Nudie Magazine Day. Fantastic stuff. New Orleans-wise, lots of ways that that's going to pan out. Detroit-wise, I think kind of just making sure that we pay attention to Duren and Burke. Still no official news on them, but nice that we got the Brandon Ingram news. I'm going to be refreshing stuff here. And then we're going to jump over to the lineup generator right now, because I do think everything on our end just got updated. Our data team has just been doing an unbelievable job of keeping people apprised this entire season. Yeah, CJ McCollum now sitting there with a 45.5 DraftKings points projection, 57.3% ownership. I want to see how much we're going to get him here on the lineup generator. And well, wouldn't you know it? We have an unbelievable deal going for this lineup generator as we speak. It is promo code. Where did it go? It just disappeared on me here. It just disappeared. What was the promo code here, Jordan Klein? Want to make sure. $4.99. Look at that. NBA treat. NBA treat. I could look at the Zoom. Sorry, I never look at the Zoom, but here we are. NBA treat, $4.99. That is for all new users to the NBA lineup generator. And here is how it works. You simply go up to NBA. You go down to the NBA lineup generator in the Stokastic tab, and then you simply go into the DraftKings main. I want to build some contrarian lineups because I do want to get a little weird with my friends here. That's for sure. It's going to be an enjoyable experience for everybody involved. We simply save ourselves up to 20 of these lineups. Jordan Klein, hit that contrarian button. Just tap, 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 tap. Get yourself 20 lineups, quick and easy. If you're building on your phone, easy to be able to take a look at those, cross-reference them. If you're on your laptop, you're able to put those directly to CSV and upload those. There have been slates where it's like, oh shit, I forgot to build out my lineups. And 5 minutes beforehand, it's fine. It takes you all of about 2 minutes to be able to upload phenomenal lineups that have been curated by our Sims tool, our high-powered Sims tool, getting you the best possible lineups under the news that we have. It will update in real time. As you can see, no longer will you see Brandon Ingram at the top of the lineup generator. And that news broke, all of 5 minutes ago? Check out that. That's phenomenal stuff. So you don't even have to worry. If you were to see Brandon Ingram at the top of the page, you would have to worry about it a little bit. But our data team is on it right now. Absolutely exceptional stuff. But CJ McCollum at the top of the tool right now. Jonas Valanciunas, John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, and then Jalen Duren, 35% of him. That's obviously news that we're waiting for here. But Matt, anything that stands out to you at the top of the lineup generator?
Not really. It's all guys that we really like in our boom bust tool, and those work hand in hand. So that's no surprise at all. Those are the top plays on the slate, especially from like a leverage standpoint. Also, as you mentioned with Duren. So, the Ingram news I was expecting, and I like it from a New Orleans perspective, but it just makes it where there's another one of these slates where there's a lot of good plays, especially in the mid tier. with Utah being underpriced, etc. Yeah, no, it looks pretty good to me. I'm excited to talk about forwards here in a minute.
Oh, we have some contrarian forwards, and one of them is on the page, Chetty Osman. I see him there. I see you, son. 35 hundo for him. That is going to be a piece of my lineups that is uncomfortable, but looks like I'm clicking that button. Oh boy. Oh boy. That'll be an enjoyable experience, but it's an enjoyable thing to see less than $5. Less than $5 for lineup generator using NBA treats. So like, go do that. Okay, cool. Let's get ourselves over to forward, shall we? Enjoyable stuff and great work by Jordan Klein here. Of course, with no Brandon Ingram on the board, we are sitting, waiting, wishing, hoping you believed in superstitions. John Collins, your highest owned forward, 56 hundo. He moved himself into that starting lineup at the beginning of the season. He's played decently well relative to expectations that I would have for John Collins. I've never thought of him as the most consistent basketball player once upon a time in Atlanta, but in Utah, power forward center eligibility, playing mid-30s minutes, obviously only 28 in that blowout W against this putrid Memphis team. What are they doing? But how do you feel about John Collins as mega chalk today?
I don't love him as mega chalk, but I like the play for sure. I mean, he's too cheap for his role now with Utah. We always knew that he had this in him. He was just kind of getting played around in Atlanta, not really consistent minutes, no usage with the guards they have. Seems to have adjusted well with his role in Utah. I don't love the ownership, but he looks like a cog in the machine type to me where like you can plug and play him and feel pretty good about it. He's probably not going to win you any tournaments tonight, but at his price point, he's not going to lose them for you either. So I don't feel really any type of way about him. I think he's fine. I'm not like going out of my way to make sure I have him, but I'm not upset if I have him either.
You building your standard like 3 lineups, your big 3 lineups today?
Correct.
Does John Collins make one of them at least?
Probably.
Does he make 2 of them? See?
Depends on the Durham news.
Exactly. It's all kind of dependent. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at John Collins is that right now I would have a ton of him. I think we look at a little bit less if we end up having Jalen Duren out. I think I'll be going back to the well on Bagley. It doesn't feel good. Go ahead.
So will I, but it really doesn't feel good.
Oh, no.
Especially because like everyone's going to go back to him. So it's like, he wasn't even that great last night. I mean, he was fine from a points per dollar perspective, but only center eligible here. Like, I hope Duren is in because I like Duren and I really don't want to deal with the Bagley because I know I'll play him and he'll suck, but you just have to play him.
Yeah. And James Wiseman goes out and just plays his best version of Hack-a-Shaq, 3 fouls in a minute. It was incredible stuff at the beginning and then picks up a 4th and they're like, you know what, James Wiseman, you have been relegated to nowhere land.
My favorite, though, and I like him even if Duren's in, but if he's out, I love Isaiah Stewart. Like, they showed it at the end of last night. They're willing to play him at center. Like, he's much more he's bigger than Bagley. I mean, Bagley might be taller or whatever, but they trust Stewart a lot more. Like, Stewart is the definite for me if Duren is out, and I like him if Duren's in.
Stewart. A little bit of that. Little Family Guy for the people.
Great show. Can't believe that show's still, like, on and running.
I didn't know, mother. I can't figure it out. There's some good ones. There's some good voices to do. Jordan Klein doesn't like any of them. He's not entertained by me in the slightest. He is not entertained. Whatever. Chat sometimes is. And speaking of chat, we've got some super chats. Over 3,000 of you also hanging out here. We love you. Thursday before NFL Live, before live, smash that like button so we can keep firing this out in full an hour before these Thursday football games. And then we turn it over to our friends in Love and Neil. Going to be a lot of fun, but did Olrat did he get his super chat answered a little bit earlier, Jordan? Okay, good. So RADM, $5 of, I don't know what an R in front of is. Is that a rupee? Are we getting rupees on this show now? That's cool. How do you feel about Sasser if Duren and Burks don't play? He played great yesterday, so maybe he gets more minutes today if the same players are out. Yeah, I would play him if both of them are out. If Burks is in, then you can kind of hit eject on it, but go ahead.
I think it's a not so fast. I think if Burks is in, I don't think he's really in play unless you're playing like a ton of lineups. If Burks is out, I don't think he's some sort of like lock button play at all because of what I said earlier. Jaden Ivey still only played 20 minutes yesterday. They might change the rotation. He looks good at 3,600, but not going to be shocked if he only plays like 15 minutes. I mean, he could easily play more, and I do like him, but it's worth talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's wild to me that one, Jaden Ivey. I mean, this is what happens with new coaches. We have to kind of figure out the rotations on the fly very, very quickly. And the one game that kind of gives me a little bit of a headache is that OKC game because he was playing awesome. He picked up a fifth foul early on there, just never came back in the game, only played 19 minutes with a 32% usage, but put up 32 and a half DraftKings points, went 4 for 6 from 3. I'm not sure why Mo Williams hates this guy, but he does. And it just seems like he's not going to play more than 23 minutes. So I do think there's a path for a young player who's new to the rotation here in Marcus Sasser to maybe play more than we think in some of these spots. Now, I don't think he'll go completely overlooked. If not only that, I think he'll actually be pretty popular in the event that you get Burks out. I think Duren's kind of unaffected to me to a certain extent. I do see how you're kind of coming up with both of them being out because Isaiah Stewart can then go to the 5 in some of those minutes in reserve. Marvin Bagley can play strict 5.
They do not trust Bagley. Like, they just don't. That doesn't mean he's not going to play.
They shouldn't trust Bagley.
So that doesn't mean that he's not going to play tonight, but it's not going to be shocking to me at all if they go Stewart at the 5 and then end up running smaller with, Sass, 2 of Sass or Cunningham and Ivy on the floor. I'm with you there. I think it's uncertain. Now, when you say you think Sasser becomes like popular, I mean, I still don't think how popular do you think he becomes? Like, let's say we get the Duren and Burks are out at 7:30 Eastern.
7:30 Eastern, probably not that popular. So I'm going to agree with you there. If we get that news before lock, I bet Marcus Sasser gets to double-digit ownership coming off of a game yesterday where he played 24 minutes. He is a bucket, even with low usage. Again, only a 10.6% usage rate, but the 4 steals really buoyed that box score. It's just a guy who's going to play 20 minutes more than likely, and 3,600, and has some room to grow, I think, within the construct of this team. Obviously, Cade Cunningham on the floor. Yeah, he's a fun player to watch. He's a little bit undersized, Marcus Sasser is, for anybody who watched him in like summer league and things of that nature, but like he can get you a bucket if you need a bucket. And we haven't really seen that usage extended because now he's sharing the floor with a Cade Cunningham, with a Killian Hayes, with some of these other fools that are definitely not going to allow him to hit his ceiling. But you don't need that ceiling at 3,600. You just need competent play. Mid-20s, I would be more than ecstatic with, I think, on a 4-game slate here, depending on what other injury news may or may not show up. Because, yeah, I mean, regardless, I think he's probably a decent player. As long as Burks is out, I'll take my shots, and I'm sure the field will too. Let's move our way to Anthony Maniaki, $1.99, 4,500 last spot on DK Utility. Help, he says in exclamation. Help. We can do that. 4,500. It's going to be a little bit dependent upon news. Josh Okogie would be my guy right now. That's not a fun click. It's not an ideal click. But again, utility, you're opening up the whole board, 4,500. I think Drew Eubanks would be in play for you if you wanted to take that shot here as well. Dyson Daniels is definitely the guy that projects the best for 300 less. So 29 minutes of him. He'll be by far the most popular, though. 4,500 utility. Who would you be clicking on, my friend?
Probably Dyson Daniels. I mean, Bagley, obviously, if Duren is out, but probably Dyson Daniels after that. Don't see many guys I like beyond that. I think Matt Ryan is fine if you're playing a lot of lineups. One more point about Sasser, though, that I just want to make because I like it. Everything is so projectable nowadays. We know that. There's still, and this kind of gets me excited about a guy like Sasser, there's still that hint of unknown, right? Like, we don't know exactly what Sasser is going to be. He'll probably not be much of anything because most guys aren't. But he's getting run. Like, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if we do this show in a month and Sasser's like 5,500 because he's established himself like in the Pistons rotation. I don't expect that, but I kind of like to embrace that unknown, if you will.
I am with you. I think Matt Ryan, definitely somebody that is in play for today's slate. 4K. And then that leads us to a super chat here from James Magruder, $1.99. 4K at forward, Chetty over Matt Ryan with multiple Pelicans out. Right now, I kind of prefer Matt Ryan. I think that's something that I'm trying to change up here over on my end. Mainly, Chetty Osman was 3,500, gave me exposure to the later window of games where I can do some swappability. I can kind of have some pieces move around, but I think at 3,500 for Chetty, he's just a little bit more unnecessary now that Ingram is ruled out officially. I think Matt Ryan's probably a better player. I project him for 3.5 fantasy points more That's exactly what we have here at Stokastic at the moment as well. Dyson Daniels, he's going to be a piece of 4,200 that I'm going to get to for cheap. I'm not going to probably take the Kira Lewis Jr. shot or anything, but Cedi Osman, man, I had a ton coming into this show. I think that's going to change. Herbert Jones, if people aren't going to click on that button that much, 16%, I think there's still a ceiling there. We know what the stocks upside can be from time to time as well. Give me Herbert Jones at this low ownership because he hasn't done it for you lately. But how are you feeling about 4K and under? Is Matt Ryan your guy or Cedi Osman?
It's almost like 6 and 1/2 dozen the other for me. I don't have a strong preference between those two. I think it's probably Ryan who projects a little bit more. Chedi's not needed, as you mentioned, with the New Orleans value. But if you like Cedi more than Matt Ryan, I'm not like going to argue with you. So I think your point made about Herbert Jones is a good one, though. I talked earlier that I think this game could be a little sloppy, a lot of turnovers, blocks, and steals. That type of environment is like exactly what Herbert Jones feeds into. So this is the type of spot where I do like him. I'm going to play a little bit of him. He's overpriced, especially if everyone's in, but everyone's not in. And this is the type of game where I could see him getting like 5 stocks. So I'm about it.
Yeah. Back then, DFSers didn't want him. Then he's going to put up a lot of fantasy points and Hose will be all on him. That's going to be what happens because Herb Jones, he stays flossing in his candy paint, rolling dank, sip and drink on an 84 swing.
Where did you get Mike Jones from? Either me
Herb
saying
Jones.
Okay.
Herb Jones.
I thought it was from me saying Bout It, which is a Master P reference, which you might be too young for Master P.
No. I'm older than you think I am. I'm not 40 like some absolute communists on the show like to say. My guy, Neil Orfield, calling me 40 on the daily. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Well, I'm 39, so I got nothing to say about that.
I'm 36, so there you are. See?
Okay.
I'm older than you think I am. It's
well,
just kind of a youthful exuberance, Matthew Belman.
You know about Master P. You know about
I know a little bit about him. I also know a little bit about Bet365 in a couple of these lovely states. There's 6 of them, friends. Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado. It is an unbelievable deal that we have going with Bet365 right now. You sign up at the link that either Jordan Klein jumps in there and pastes in the chat or down in the video description box below. You bet $5 on anything in the NBA or NFL or Highlight or Croquet or whatever streets they have available there at Bet365, you're going to get yourself $150 in bonus bets. My friends, 5 into 150, knowing that the most you could be out is $5. It's a ridiculous deal, and you'd be just kind of silly not to take advantage of it if you ask me. Here in the Odd Shopper streets, in the Stokastic streets, we recommend having multiple books so you can always be shopping for the best lines. And well, Bet365 has a lot of those best lines. They did throughout the MLB season as I was doing all of my MLB content. I wish that I was in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, or Colorado so I could take advantage of 5 into 150 in bonus bets. And that's win or lose. What happens to that $5? It doesn't matter what your name is. You get yourself 150 in bonus bets. Only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER, and also 18 and over in Kentucky. Cool, friends. We head to the to the witching hour. Yeah, we're going to do that. 19 minutes to go until the end of our lovely show and program. We'll get to the center spot here in 1 second, but want to at least throw this in there? I am terrified to have 100% CJ McCollum.
Why?
Oh, yeah, I'm not. That's right. I just have 100% of him. I just wanted to let the people know. I didn't expect to have 100% of anybody today.
Sure. Having 100% of anyone can be scary just because of the variance and unknown factors that can happen. We all know what they are. But on a projection level, he looks great. And, I don't think I think it makes a lot of sense.
Did I make a croquet reference? Yes, I did. Elite transition. Yes, I know. Eric's too young for Barney the dinosaur. Fuck you. All right, cool. Let's do the nuke of the night, shall we, Jordan Klein? Is it nuke of the night time? I think it is. Give me the countdown. Nuke of the night. Matt Belman. It's the nuke of the night. Who is the best low-owned tournament option on tonight's slate? Bar none, gonna win the people the money, just like we had Mr. Yusuf Nurkic completely smash it for the people. Nuke of the night is...
For me, Isaiah Stewart.
Stewart. Tell the people why Isaiah Stewart.
Well, I'm kind of expecting Duren to sit here. He missed last night. I'll always lean on the side of whatever happened the game before will happen here, which hence is why I thought Ingram would be out. Until I see him play, I'll expect him to be out until we hear otherwise. Same with Duren. So based on that, I think Stewart is just a smash here. He's going to play a ton of minutes in any game script. He could easily see run at center, which just boosts everyone's DFS production. So he's my guy here. Not getting love at all. 10% projected ownership as of this moment. 13% chance of being optimal. So I like all that.
I like all that too. These are really, really good things. They make me happy. I think that they're phenomenal plays, but there is one man who has been sent back through time to win us all of the money tonight. And that man's name is Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen is 16.5% owned. He is 9K, and nobody is going to go out of their way to go click on him, but only had to play 28 minutes against Phoenix. They had a blowout loss. 28 minutes against Memphis. They had a blowout win. When you've seen him play 35 plus minutes this season, 57 fantasy points in both games. He is 9K with small forward, power forward eligibility. I think he ends up drastically lower because he didn't do it yesterday. He was well on pace to doing it for the people, but a blowout got in the way against Memphis. I love when that happens. We haven't projected for 34 minutes. I haven't projected for a little bit more, 36 and a half minutes here for Lauri Markkanen. Didn't talk about him at the power forward spot or the forward spot yet because I think he is an absolute smash against Orlando here in this spot. 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. Think that he gives you a little bit of a flexibility that Kevin Durant doesn't. Gives you a little bit of flexibility that Joel Embiid doesn't. So if Joel Embiid does not smash on the front end of this game or in the first game of the night, I'm in a really good spot. Lauri Markkanen, how do you feel about him being the nuke of the night?
I respect it. I don't necessarily agree. I don't disagree.
Oh, cool.
I don't disagree. I just don't think, for me, he doesn't really look different than like Cade Cunningham. Just in terms of like they're both not getting love. Hard to get to that price range. I thought you were going to say Paolo Banchero, but then I realized he's getting more ownership, so that kind of threw me off.
Yeah, I like Paolo Banchero. 16.5 points for the people who care about such things. You could smash the over of that and it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Feel like that's a little bit low for our guy Paolo, who Franz Wagner, they're 1-2 in some capacity on this team. I think Paolo Banchero long-term has the higher ceiling. Most number one picks in the association do, but Franz Wagner, a beautiful piece. That's a weird thing to say out loud.
I do think sooner rather than later, we start seeing massive Banchero games. Like, he's not a guy that's just going to be happy with putting up the mediocre numbers he is now. They have a lot of mouths to feed in Orlando. So that's been his problem so far, like not his talent. I do think, though, that as the season progresses, you're going to see he's the guy. I mean, he is the guy, as you mentioned, the number one pick. They've got a lot of good players around him, but he is the guy. One player I wanted to ask you about, speaking of first-round picks, number 5 overall, Ausar Thompson. Another guy, I really, really like him if Duren's out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this guy's rebound rate is out of control. Mm-hmm. He's had some really bad shooting games. Yesterday was the first good shooting game he's had in a long time. I think he's going to be somebody that I probably, once we get after lock here and I'm building out my NFL lineups and I'm watching the guys on the NFL Live Before Lock show for a little bit as I'm building out everything. I mean, do you know what he's shooting from 3 so far this season?
No, but I would venture to say it's not good.
10%.
Yeah.
1 for 10. It's a problem. We needed to start knocking down some shots here. Nice that he's taken it to the rim a little bit here, but once we have some better shooting performances, he's a young player that has a massive ceiling because of what he can do defensively, averaging nearly a double-double, 10 points, 9.8 rebounds per game. And I'm with you. If Duren is out, Ausar Thompson's going to be somebody that I get to a tiny tit-tat little bit more. So that'll be a good shout out as well. Let's talk about center, and it has to come with a big asterisk because Jalen Duren is somebody that I love for tournaments if he ends up playing. I will have 0 if he doesn't play because that would be a bad idea. Jonas Valanciunas, though, Holy Mother of Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. 60.5% ownership. What?
Yeah, I get it. No Zion. Great matchup. He's too cheap. He's like, I don't want to say he's like the Blake Snell or whatever of NBA where you don't like to play him as chalk. He feels that way. I don't really buy into to all that stuff regardless. He definitely feels like the type of guy that I'm more interested in getting away from when he's getting that ownership. But he's too cheap and it makes sense. And on a projection basis, like he looks like probably the second best play on the slate behind McCollum, honestly.
Yeah, he is going to be somebody I have a ton here. I'm going to the fan funding filter. That's what I've been doing, Jordan Klein. I just wanted to ask before about it. We got the DK tiers question. I want to get to that one here super, super quickly. So I'm going to pull that up here and talk you through that one. But I'm going to turn this over to my guy, Matt. Member for 2 months, the Dude Shop 88. 4 Pelicans too many today, ? But he didn't have the question mark. I added that. And he used the wrong form of 2. But we love that you've been here for 2 months. You are awesome.
I love that call out. That's so good. No, I definitely don't think 4 Pelicans is too much, honestly, at all. I think you could dabble with even more Pelicans on a slate like this. It's risky, but risky is how tournaments are won, right? The Pelicans are in a great spot. I think that McCollum's a lock. You could easily view Valanciunas and Hawkins as locks. And then there's the rest of the ancillary pieces with Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance, Herbert Jones, all of them are in play. Great spot against Detroit. Yeah, 4 is not out of line at all for me. How about you?
Yeah, 4 is not the loneliest number that you'll ever know. It's 1. It's lonely.
Isn't it 3?
It's 1 is the loneliest number that you'll ever do, right?
Must be.
Anyway, besides that, feeling pretty good about trying to get ourselves to a little bit of exposure for as many Pelicans as you can humanly possibly stomach because they're phenomenal plays. They're facing Detroit. And yeah, the total isn't anything special at 215, but the opportunity with no Zion and no Ingram is better than what it was yesterday. Like we're looking at a better situation for CJ McCollum for every Pelican. So like it can't be understated how much better it is to get to that team than every other team right now on this slate. I can't imagine that Devin Booker even being ruled out would change that for me. Jalen Duren, I don't even think that would change it for me because I do think that there is some uncertainty. I will go back to the Bagley. Oh God, it's just going to have to be a click that feels uncomfortable, but I would go right back to it if he gets ruled out. Center, Zach Collins, that's going to be a piece that I'm going to get to a little bit contrarian as well off of Duren. But
I like Zach Collins a lot here.
Yeah, talk to the people about Zach Collins because I do think that this guy, he's traditionally been pretty good from a fantasy point per minute spot and hasn't blown the doors off here yet, but played 39 minutes in the second game of the season, which is pretty wild. He can get some extra run beyond these 25, 27 minutes that we've seen.
He's just a good fantasy player. Like he's not spectacular. He's certainly more solid than spectacular, but he's priced in the solid range. I heard someone say, I can't remember, it was during one of their broadcasts, that Collins brings like the nastiness to the Spurs that they need. And it's true. He does a lot of the little things that shows up in the box score. He's key to their success, if they're going to have any. He got into early foul trouble last game, had to sit, so lost some run there. I like him quite a bit here. 6,300 looks like a really nice price tag. Our tools like him a lot. He's only getting 11% ownership, projected to be optimal 16% of the time. So a lot to like there. And then one guy I just want to throw out as kind of like a deep GPP play, almost like a Sasser from last night, if you will, where no one played him. And that's going to be EJ Liddell. Probably doesn't play a lot for New Orleans, but he was their first round pick last year. Tore his ACL, was uber productive at Ohio State, one of the best players in the Big Ten.
Oh, this is a homer pick, isn't it?
It's not even.
This is a homer pick if I've ever heard one.
I'm not even going to play him. I just have to call it out in case he does play and do well. This is a guy that is a really good rebounder. So you stick him in the middle there. Maybe he plays. I don't know. I just had to call it out. But now that you ruined it for me, so I'm over it.
No, I'm not Ryan Houston. Thank you, though. My friends, I am looking at, EJ Liddell. He's played 2. What do you mean only 2? That's a Willy Wonka reference for the people who know in the back. 3.1K, smash the like button as I go through DK tiers, which I have pulled up, ready, locked, loaded for the people. Tier 1, Joel Embiid by a landslide. Tier 2, Lauri Markkanen, that shouldn't surprise you. Tier 3, looking at Tyrese Maxey being the guy, although Scotty Barnes, Victor Wembanyama, well, yeah, Victor Wembanyama, kind of a distant third between the three. Wild times. CJ McCollum by an absolute landslide in tier 4. Super close for me here. Tier 5 has a ton of volatility. I think it would be Dennis Schroeder for me right now, but Zach Collins, Keldon Johnson, Oscar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, you have so much maneuverability between all of them here based on how that Duran news falls out. And then Jonas Valanciunas by a country mile by nearly 10 fantasy points in tier 6. Hopefully that is helpful to you, my friends. That is straight off of Stokastic projections. You are welcome, unless you lose, in which case I'm sorry. Let's talk ourselves into the center position here, round out this lovely program. And then we'll go position by position, recap our favorite plays here as we move things along. If news breaks, we will talk through it here. But so far, nothing. We got the exact starting lineup we expected from Toronto and from Philly. So nothing changes there. But center position, there's a guy named Joel Embiid, and he's pretty good at basketball. Is he making one of your 3 lineups today? Because he's just at 12.8% ownership.
I don't think so. He's a luxury item. I would love to play him in 1 of 3, but I really want the roster flexibility for when we get the Duran news. I think that there are other good centers anyways. If Duran plays, him and J-Val. If Duran's out, you got Collins, J-Val, and Nance. So I'm not worried about filling the center position at all with upside. Obviously, Embiid is the highest upside guy, no doubt about it, but he's also really expensive. He's 11.5. He's approaching Luka-ish, like Jokic territory in terms of pricing, which makes sense, but he got the absolute nut matchup last time out against Portland. They were just basically giving him the ball inside. So he racked up a ton of stocks. I don't expect that here. I think he gives you like the normal 60-ish, which is fine with him. It's fine without him. I prefer the roster construction without him. We're doing this show right now, which also has affected it. I just wanted to get my stuff in, and then I'll deal with my lineups after the show. If I wasn't doing the show, I might have him in 1 of 3, but probably no more than that. And this is a good kind of piggyback to the Embiid point. A guy we didn't talk about at all that I like more than Embiid is Kevin Durant. Like I said with Booker, or like I said with Ingram, like I said with Duran, until I see these guys play, I'm expecting them to be out. So I don't think Booker plays here. I love Durant in that scenario. If he's in, I still like Durant a lot. He's a little bit too expensive, but there isn't as much opportunity cost with it being a 4-game slate. It's still Kevin Durant. People are not really on him after he let down the other night. That was a really weird slate on Tuesday. I'm not buying that that's going to happen again. He's a guy I like a lot. How do you see Embiid versus Durant?
It's an interesting one. I do probably prefer to just kind of wait with that salary. I'm playing 25 lineups. I'm going to play 5 bigger lineups where I have like a lot of 3 max, a lot of other stuff that I'm going to be playing and intermixing with them. I have 1 of 5 that has Joel Embiid as it stands right now, but it looks like I'm just going to be under the field. Have like 6% of him here. Total out of 25. Again, that's 24 lineups that it would be total. So I'm probably just going to get into him in like 1 of 20 for the 20 max and just kind of move along with my life. Don't really find him to be somebody that I need. 11.5 is a big number. Yeah. It's now priced in. James Harden hasn't been there all season long, so nothing really changes there for me. Maybe this is like a remember me kind of thing, but Toronto playing at the slowest pace in the NBA. Can he go out and just smash against anybody, any given slate? Yeah, but I do prefer to kind of wait, utilize my salary a little bit later. And as I said before, Lauri Markkanen, just a guy that I think I'm going to land on a lot more than the field as my main spend up because he feels forgotten around Durant, around Embiid, sub 20% ownership here. And yeah, works nicely in some builds with McCollum and a lot of these Pelicans. So I guess that kind of rounds that out. Anything else at center here? Nurk Daddy, I'm always getting to. You should know that by now. Pascal Siakam, Wembanyama, not really guys that I'm landing on, a little bit above them. I do have a couple shares of Pascal, it looks like, but any center that really bars a shout out from you?
I think it's Zach Collins again. You just talked about him, and I followed up with that, but I think you can make a case that he's the top tournament center on the slate. Because he's a little more expensive than J-Val. He's more consistent than J-Val. All you need is for him to outscore J-Val. He's not projected to, and I wouldn't expect him to, but it gives you so much up on the field if he does. It's Zach Collins for me. That's a guy I like a lot here.
All right, let's go position by position here and talk through your highest owned pieces. I'm going to do it as I'm finishing out my lineups and uploading them here. OG Anunoby, we didn't talk about him either. I think FanDuel, that's going to be more of a play for me there as I finish out my lineups. But for DraftKings purposes, let's go position by position. We're in agreement. CJ McCollum at point guard, yes?
Yeah, I'm playing him in any lineup I make.
Yep, I have 100% of him. Shooting guard, who is your highest owned?
I don't love it, but Jordan Hawkins as of right now.
Ooh, yeah, no, I think that's a good one. Jordan Hawkins, mine too. Small forward.
Osar Thompson.
Mr. Contrarian himself. Look at you. I do not hate that in any way, shape, or form. My small forward is, let's find it. It is Herb Jones. Good luck to me. This is going to be painful. Power forward.
At power forward, I like Isaiah Stewart a lot. Him and Durant, but I'll say Stewart.
Yep. Pending the news, Isaiah Stewart. John Collins, though, would be it right now. And at center, my friend, Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, it's Jonas Valanciunas. But one guy we didn't talk about really that I wanted to get your opinion on is Larry Nance. Like, he's not projecting well, nor getting a ton of love. But this is another, like, just like you said with Herb Jones, this game is really conducive for what he does. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends up playing even more than J-Val. Don't expect it, but we've seen weird things here. What's your take on Nance?
I like that shout out because they've kind of shown a proclivity to just go to him in closing lineups throughout the years as is, like, or the last 2 years, that is. Jonas Valanciunas, there's a lot of ways that if he fails, it's probably Larry Nance. And then he's cheap enough that I have really no problem playing them alongside each other. So there's kind of a lot of ways that can work out. I do want to see, I'm assuming we get, who's that fifth starter going to be here for the Pelicans, do you think?
I'm not sure, but I do think that there's real trickle-down effect from the Duren news.
Yes.
Like, if Duren is out, we've seen Detroit last night be hesitant to give Bagley a ton of run. If all of a sudden, like, they decide to go a little smaller, you're getting all the Nance. Like, you're just getting it all. And J-Val's not going to play a lot. Probably doesn't happen that way, but Nance is not as good as J-Val, but he's much more versatile. So it's just worth talking about. I don't know how much you can really, activate that in your lineups, but it's a nice talking point for a 4-game slate.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I do think Larry Nance ends up starting. So I think that's not a bad shout out. I think we might end up playing a ton of Larry Nance if that's the fact. It could also be Matt Ryan. It could also be Dyson Daniels. We will find out after a lock. If you have any questions, hit me up at Eric Lindquist over on the Twitter/X. I'll be happy to help you out. Matthew Belman, I'm sure he seems like a nice, orderly gentleman. My friend over here at Fantasy Tips Matt over on Twitters. Go ask him all the questions. Actually, just bombard him. Let him know. Because, again, he is one of the best DFS players around. That is for sure. Thank you to Bet365. Matt, any final words as we get out of here?
No, always a lot of fun. Hopefully we get a Thursday night slate sooner rather than later with like a bunch of games. Probably won't have a lot of those this year because this is Thursday night, but once the NFL is over, maybe we'll get some of those.
Well, speaking of NFL, my friends, you have NFL Live Before Lock coming up. Neil Lofty going to be coming up right after this, 15 minutes from now. You got Jordan Klein. He'll be at the helm of that one too. Give him some love here in the chat by smashing that like button as we get ourselves the heck up out of here. For Matt, I'm Eric. We'll see you guys next time. Best of luck. Pay attention to news.